Hello everyone, I am Sunil Kumar BL, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Canara Engineering College. I am handling Advanced Computer Architectures 17 CS 72. Textbook is Advanced Computer Architecture by Kai Hong and Naresh Jotwani. Reference book is Computer Architecture, a Quantitative Approach by John L. Hennessy and David A. Patterson. Chapter 9, Scalable, Multithreaded and Data Flow Architectures. Fine-grained multicomputers. Fine-grained parallelism was utilized in SIMD or data parallel computers like the CM2 or on the message-driven J machine and Mosaic C. We compare the grain sizes, communication latencies, and concurrency in four classes of parallel computers. The computing granularity and communicational latency of leading early examples of multicomputers, data parallel computers, and medium and fine-grained multicomputers are summarized in the table. The table entries summarizes what we have learned in the previous chapters. Four attributes are identified to characterize these machines. Only typical value for a typical program mix are shown here. The intention is to show the order of magnitude in these entries. The communication latency TC measures the data or message transfer time on a system interconnect. This corresponds to the shared memory access time on the Cray YMP, the time required to send a 32-bit value across the hypercube network in the CM2, and the network latency on IPSC/1 or J machine. The synchronization overhead (TS) is the processing time required on a processor or on a PE or on a processing node of a multicomputer for the purpose of synchronization. The sum Tc plus Ts gives the total time required for IPC. The shared memory Cray YMP had a short Tc but the long Ts. The grain size Tg is measured by the execution time of a typical program, including both computing time and communication time involved. Supercomputers handle large grain. Both the CM2 and the J machine were designed as fine-grained machines. The IPSC/1 was a relatively medium-grain machine compared with the rest. The building block of MIT J machine was the message-driven processor or MDP, a 36-bit processor custom designed for a fine-grained multicomputer. J machine architecture. The K-array N-cube network were applied in the MIT J machine. The initial prototype J machine used a 1024 node network, that means 18 to 18 to 16, which was a reduced 16 array 3 cube with 8 nodes along the x and y dimensions and 16 nodes along the z dimensions. A 4096 node J machine would use a full of 16 array 3 cube with 16 into 16 into 16 nodes. The J-Machine designer called their network a three-dimensional mesh. MDP design. The MDP chip included a processor of 4096 word by 36-bit memory and a built-in router with network ports as shown in the diagram. An on-chip memory controller with error checking and correction (ECC) capability permitted local memory to be expanded to 1 million words by adding external DRAM chips. The processor was message-driven in the sense that it executed functions in response to messages via the dispatch mechanism. No receive instruction was needed. The MDP created a task to handle each arriving message. MDP chip provide inexpensive processing nodes with plentiful VLSI commodity parts to construct the Jelly Bean machine (J-Machine) multi-computer. The memory port provided a direct interface to up to 1M words of ECC DRAM consisting of 11 multiplexed address lines, a 12-bit data bus, and 3 control signals. The network ports connected MDPs together in three-dimensional mesh network. Each of these 6 ports corresponded to one of the 6 cardinal directions: plus x minus x, plus y minus y, plus z and minus z, and consisted of 9 data and 6 control lines, each port connected directly to the opposite port on the adjacent MDP. MDP chip floor plan is shown in diagram B. Diagram C shows the components built inside the MDP chip. The chip included a conventional microprocessor with prefetch, control, register file, and ALU and memory blocks. The network communication system comprised the routers and network input and output interfaces. The address arithmetic unit provided addressing functions. The MDP also included a DRAM interface control clock and diagnostic interface. Instruction set architecture. The MDP extended a conventional microprocessor instruction set architecture with the instruction to support parallel processing. The instruction set contained fixed format, 3 address instructions. Two 17-bit instructions fit into each 36-bit word with the 2-bit reserved for type checking. Separate register sets were provided to support rapid switching among 3 execution levels: background, priority 0 or P0 and priority 1 or P1. The MDP executed at the background level while no message created a task and initiated execution upon message arrival at P0 or P1 level depending on the message priority. Communication support. The MDP provided hardware support for end-to-end message delivery, including formatting, injection, delivery, buffer allocation, buffering, and task scheduling. An MDP transmitted a message using a series of send instructions, each of which injected 1 or 2 words into the network at either priority 0 or 1. Message format and routing. The J machine used deterministic dimension order E-cube routing. As shown in the diagram, all messages routed first in the X dimension, then the Y dimension, and then in Z dimension. Since messages routed in dimension order and messages running in opposite directions along the same dimension cannot block resource cycles were thus avoided, making the network probably deadlock free. Router design. The routers formed the switches in a J-machine network and delivered messages to their destinations. As shown in the diagram A, the MDP contained three independent routers, one for each bidirectional dimension of the network. Each router contained two separate virtual networks with different priorities that shared the same physical channels. The priority 1 network could preempt the wires even if priority 0 network was congested or jammed. The priority levels supported multi-threaded operations. Each of the 18 router paths contained buffers, comparators, and output arbitration. On each data path, a comparator compared the lead flit, which contained the destination address in that dimension, to the node coordinate. If the head flit did not match, the message continued in the current direction. Otherwise, the message was routed to the next dimension. A message entering the dimension compared with messages continuing in the dimension at a 2 to 1 switch. Once a message was granted this switch, all other input was locked out for the duration of the message. Once the head flit of the message had set up the route, the subsequent flits followed directly behind it. Two priorities of messages shared the physical wires but used completely separate buffers and routing logic. The MDP synchronized using message dispatch and presence tags on all states. Because each message arrival dispatched a process, message could signal events on remote nodes. For example, in the following combined tree example, each combined message signals its own arrival and initiates the combined routine. A combining tree is shown in the diagram. This tree sums results produced by a distributed computation. Each node sums the input values as they arrive and then passes a result message to its parents. A pair of send instruction was used to send the combined message to a node. Upon message arrival, the MDP buffered the message and created a task to execute the following combined routine written in MDP assembly code. If node was idle, execution of this routine began 3 cycles after message arrival. The routine loaded the combining node pointer and value from message, performed the required add and decrement, and if count reached 0, sent a message to its parent. Caltech Mosaic C. The Caltech Mosaic C was an experimental fine-grained multicomputer that employed single-chip nodes and advanced packaging technology to demonstrate the performance per cost advantages of fine-grained multi-computer architecture. We describe the architecture of Mosaic C and review its application potentials. The evolution from the cosmic cube to the mosaic is an example of one type of scaling track in which advances in technology are employed to re-implement nodes of a similar logic complexity but which are faster and smaller, have lower power, and are less expensive. The progress in microelectronics over the preceding decade was such that mosaic nodes were nearly equal to 60 times faster, used nearly equal to 20 times less power, and were nearly equal to 100 times smaller and were nearly equal to 25 times less expensive to manufacture than cosmic cube nodes. The Mosaic C multicomputer node was a single 9.25 mm into 10.00 mm chip fabricated in a 1.2 μm feature size, two-level metal CMOS process. At 5-volt operation, the synchronous parts of the chip operated with large margin at a 30 MHz clock rate and, and the chip dissipated nearly equal to 0.5 watt. The processor also included two program counters and two set of general purpose registers to allow zero-time context switching between user programs and message handling. Thus, when the packet interface received a complete packet, received the header of a packet, completed the sending of a packet, exhausted the allocated space for receiving packets, or any of several other events that could be selected, it could interrupt the processor by switching it instantly to the message handling context. Scalable and multi-threaded architecture. Stanford Dash Multiprocessor. This was an experimental multiprocessor system developed by John Hennessy and co-workers at Stanford University beginning in 1988. The name DASH is an abbreviation for Directory Architecture for Shared Memory. The fundamental premise behind Dash was that it is possible to build a scalable high performance machine with a single address space, coherent caches, and distributed memories. The directory-based coherence gave Dash the ease of use of shared memory architecture while maintaining the scalability of message passing machines. The Dash prototype is illustrated in the figure. It incorporated up to 64 MIPS R3000 or R3010 microprocessors with 16 clusters of 4 PEs each. The cluster hardware was modified from Silicon Graphics 4D/340 nodes with new directory and relay controller boards as depicted in the diagram A. The interconnection network among the 16 multiprocessor clusters was a pair of wormhole routed mesh network. The channel width was 16 bits with a 50 nanosecond fall-through time and a 35 nanosecond cycle time. One mesh network was used to request remote memory and the other was a reply mesh as depicted in the diagram B, where the small squares at mesh network are 5 cross 5 mesh routers. The Dash designers claimed scalability for the Dash approach. Although the prototype was limited to at most 16 clusters due to the limited physical memory addressability of 4D/340 system, the system was scalable to support hundreds to thousands of processors. Diagram C shows the logic memory hierarchy. Figure A illustrates the flow of read request to remote memory with the directory in a dirty remote state. The read request is forwarded to the owing dirty cluster. The owing cluster sends out two messages in response to the read. A message containing the data is sent directly to the requesting cluster, and a sharing write-back request is sent to home cluster. The sharing write-back request writes the cache block back to memory and also updates the directory. This protocol reduces latency by permitting the dirty cluster to respond directly to the requesting cluster. In addition, this forwarding strategy allows the directory controller to simultaneously process many requests without the added complexity of maintaining the state of outstanding requests. Serialization is reduced to the time of single intercluster bus transaction. The only resource held while intercluster messages are being sent is a single entry in the originating cluster's remote access cache. Figure B shows the corresponding sequence for a write operation that requires remote service. The invalidation-based protocol requires the processor to acquire exclusive ownership of the cache block before completing the store. Thus, if a write is made to a block that the processor does not have cached or only has cached in a shared state, the processor issues a read exclusive request on the local bus. In this case, no other cache holds the block entry dirty in local cluster, so a RDEX request is sent to home cluster. As before, a remote access cache entry is allocated in the local cluster. At the home cluster, the pseudo CPU issues the read exclusive request to the bus. The directory indicates that the line is in shared state. This request in the directory controller sending a RDEX reply to the local cluster and invalidation requests to the sharing cluster. Kendall Square Research KSR-1. This was the first commercial attempt to build a scalable multiprocessor with cache-only memory architecture or COMA. The Kendall Square Research KSR-1 was a size and generation scalable shared memory multiprocessor computer. It was formed as a hierarchy of ring multis as shown in the diagram. KSR-1 architecture. Scalability in the KSR-1 was achieved by connecting 32 processors to form a ring multi operating at 1 gigabyte per second. Interconnection bandwidth within a ring scales linearly, since every ring slot has roughly the capacity of a typical crosspoint switch found in a supercomputer that interconnects 8 to 1600 megabyte per second HIPPI channels. The KSR-1 used a two-level hierarchy to interconnect 34 ring zeros by a top-level ring 1 and was therefore massive. The ring design supported an arbitrary number of levels, permitting ultras to be built as shown in the diagram. Each node comprised a primary cache acting as a 32 megabyte primary memory and a 64-bit superscalar processor with roughly the same performance as an IBM RS/6000 operating at the same clock rate. The superscalar processors containing 64 floating point and 32 fixed point registers of 64 bits were designed for both scalar and vector operations. Terra multiprocessor system. Multi-threaded von Neumann architecture can be traced back to the CDC 6600 manufactured in the mid-1960s. Multiple functional units in the 6600 CPU could execute different operations simultaneously using a scoreboarding control. The HEP was built with 16 processors driven by a 10 MHz clock, and each processor could execute 128 threads simultaneously. The HEP failed to survive due to inadequate software and compiler support. The Terra was very much a HEP descendant, but was implemented with VLSI circuits and packaging technology. A 400 MHz clock was proposed for use in Terra system, again with a maximum of 128 threads per processor. Terra design goals. The Terra architecture was designed with several major goals in mind. First, it needed to be suitable for very high-speed implementations, that is, have a short clock period and be scalable to many processors. A maximum configuration of the first implementation of the architecture was shown in the diagram is 256 processors, 512 memory units, 256 I/O cache units, 256 I/O processors, 4096 interconnection network nodes, and a clock period of less than 3 nanoseconds. Second, it was important that architecture be applicable to wide spectrum of problems. A third goal was ease of compiler implementation. Sparse three-dimensional tours. The interconnection network was a three-dimensional sparsely populated tours of pipelined packet switching nodes, each of which was linked to some of its neighbors. Each link could transport a packet containing source and destination addresses. An operation and 64 data bit in both directions simultaneously on every clock tick. Some of the nodes were also linked to resources, that is, processors, data memory units, I/O processors, and I/O cache units. Pipelined support. Each processor in a Tera computer could execute multiple instruction streams simultaneously using threads. In the initial implementation, as few as one or as many as 128 program counters could be active at once. On every tick of the clock, the processor logic selected a ready-to-execute thread and allowed it to issue its next instruction. Since instruction interpretation was completely pipelined by the processor and by the network and memories as well, a new instruction from a different thread could be issued during each tick without interfering with its predecessors, as shown in the diagram. It was estimated that a peak speed of 1G operations per second could be achieved per processor if driven by a 333 MHz clock. However, a particular thread would not exceed about 100 m operations per second because of interleaved execution. The processor pipeline was rather deep, about 70 ticks, as compared with 8 ticks in earlier HEP pipeline. Thread state and management. Figure shows that each thread had the following state associated with it. 1. 64-bit stream status word SSW. 32 64-bit general purpose registers R0 to R31. 8 64-bit target registers T0 to T7. Data flow and hybrid architecture. Multi-threaded architecture can in theory be designed with a pure data flow approach or with a hybrid approach combining von Neumann and data-driven mechanisms. Data flow computers have the potential for exploiting all the parallelism available in a program. Since execution is driven only by the availability of operands at the inputs to the functional units, there is no need for a program counter in this architecture, and its parallelism is limited only by the actual data dependencies in the application program. While the data flow concept offers the potential of high performance, the performance of an actual data flow implementation can be restricted by a limited number of functional units, limited memory bandwidth, and the need to associatively match pending operation with available functional units. Memory latency and synchronization overhead as two fundamental issues in multiprocessing. Scalable multiprocessors must address the loss in processor efficiency in these cases. Using various latency hiding mechanisms and multiple contexts per processor can make the conventional von Neumann architecture relatively expensive to implement, and only certain types of parallelism can be exploited efficiently. HEP or Terra computers offered an evolutionary step beyond the von Neumann architectures. Data flow architectures represent a radical alternative to von Neumann architectures because they use data flow graph as their machine language. Data flow graphs, as opposed to conventional machine language, specify only a partial order for the execution of instructions and thus provide opportunities for parallel and pipeline execution at the level of individual instructions. Data flow graph can be used as machine language in data flow computers. Example of data flow graph is given below. This data flow graph shows how to obtain an approximation of cos x by the following power series computation. Cos x is nearly equal to 1 minus x square divided by 2 factorial plus x raised to the power 4 divided by 4 factorial minus x raised to the power 6 divided by 6 factorial. That is equal to 1 minus x square by 2 plus x raised to the power 4 by 24 minus x raised to the power 6 divided by 720. The corresponding data flow graph consists of 9 operators. The edge in the graph interconnect the operator nodes. The successive powers of x are obtained by repeated multiplications. The constant are fed into the node directly. All intermediate results are forwarded among the nodes. Static versus dynamic data flow. Static data flow computers simply dissolve more than one token to reside on any one arc, which is enforced by the firing rule. A node is enabled as soon as tokens are present on all input arcs and there is no token on any of its output arcs. Jack Dennis proposed the very first static data flow computer in 1974. The static firing rule is difficult to implement in hardware. Special feedback acknowledge signals are needed to secure the correct token passing between producing nodes and consuming nodes. Also, the static rule makes it very inefficient to process arrays of data. The number of acknowledged signals can grow too fast to be supported by hardware. However, static data flow inspired the development of dynamic data flow computers, which were researched vigorously at MIT and in Japan. In a dynamic architecture, each data token is tagged with a context descriptor called tagged token. The firing rule of tagged token data flow is changed to a node is enabled as soon as token with identical tags are present at each of its input arcs. With tagged tokens, tag matching becomes necessary. Special hardware mechanisms are needed to achieve this. Pure data flow machines. Figure B shows the evolution of data flow computers. The MIT tagged token data flow architecture, the Manchester data flow computer, and the ETL Sigma 1 were all pure data flow computers. The TTDA was simulated but never built. The Manchester machine was actually built and became operational in mid-1982. It operated asynchronously using a separate clock for each processing element with a performance comparable to that of the VAX/780. The ETL Sigma 1 was developed at the Electronical Laboratory, Japan. It consisted of 128p is fully synchronous with a 10 MHz clock. It implemented the I-structure memory proposed by Irving. The full configuration became operational in 1987. Explicit token store machines. These were successors to pure data flow machines. The basic idea is to eliminate associative token matching. The waiting token memory is directly addressed with the use of full or empty bits. This idea was used in MIT or Motorola Monsoon and in ETL EM4 system. Multi-threading was supported in Monsoon using multiple registers sets. Thread-based programming was conceptually introduced in Monsoon. The maximum configuration built consisted of 8 processors and 8 I-structure memory module using an 8 cross 8 crossbar network. Hybrid and unified architectures. These are architectures combining positive features from the von Neumann and Dataflow architectures. The best research examples include the MIT P-RISC, the IBM Empire, and MIT Motorola StarT. P-RISC was a RISC-ified data flow architecture. It allowed tighter encodings of the data flow graphs and produced longer threads for better performance. This was achieved by splitting complex data flow instructions into separate, simple component instructions that could be composed by the compiler. It used traditional instruction sequencing. It performed all intra-processor communication via memory and implemented joins explicitly using memory locations. P-RISC replaced some of the data flow synchronization with conventional program counter based synchronization. ETL/EM4 in Japan. EM4 had the overall system organization as shown in the diagram A. Each EMCR node was a single chip processor without floating point hardware but including a switch of the network. Each node played the role of I-structure memory and had 1.31 megabytes of static RAM. An Omega network was used to provide interconnections among the nodes. Node architecture. The internal design of the processor chip and of the node memory are shown in the diagram B. The processor chip communicated with the network through a 3 cross 3 crossbar switch unit. The processor and its memory were interfaced with a memory control unit. The memory was used to hold programs as well as tokens waiting to be fetched. The processor consisted of 6 component units. The input buffer was used as a token store with a capacity of 32 words. The fetch match unit fetched tokens from the memory and performed tag matching operations among the tokens fetched in. Instructions were directly fetched from the memory through the memory controller. The heart of the processor was the execution unit, which fetched instructions until the end of a thread. Instructions with matching tokens were executed. Instruction could emit tokens or write to registers. Instructions were fetched continually using traditional sequencing until a stop flag was raised to indicate the end of the thread. Then another pair of tokens was accepted. Each instruction in a thread specified the two sources for the next instruction in the thread. The same idea was used as in Monsoon for token matching but with different encoding. All data tokens were 32 bits and instruction words were 38 bits. EM4 supported remote loads and synchronizing loads. The full or empty bits present in memory words were used to synchronize remote load associated with different threads. MIT/Motorola STAR-T prototype. The STAR-T project was a direct descendant of a series of MIT dynamic data flow architectures unifying with the von Neumann architectures. Prototype architecture. The STAR-T prototype was a single address space system. A brick of 16 nodes was packaged in a 9-in cube as shown in the diagram A. The local network was built with 8x8 crossbar switching chips. A brick had the potential to achieve 3200 MIPS or 3.2 GFLOPS. The memory was distributed to the nodes. 1 gigabyte of RAM was used per brick, with 200 megabytes per second links. The I/O bandwidth was 6.4 gigabytes per second per brick. A 256-node machine could be built with 16 bricks as shown in the diagram B. The 16 bricks were interconnected by 4 switching boards. Each board implemented a 16 cross 16 crossbar switch. The entire system could be packaged into a 1.5 m cube. No cables were used between the boards. The package was limited by connector pin density. The 256-node machine had the potential to achieve 50,000 MIPS or 50 GFLOPS. The bisection bandwidth was 50 gigabytes per second. STAR-T node design. Each node was designed to be implemented with 4 components. A Motorola Superscalar RISC microprocessor was modified as a data processor or DP. This DP was optimized for long threads. Concurrent integer and floating point operations were performed with each DP. A synchronization coprocessor or SP was implemented as an 88000 special function unit, which was optimized for simple short threads. Both the DP and the SP could handle fast loads. The DP handled incoming continuation while the SP handled incoming messages. rload or rstore responses and joins for messaging or synchronization purposes. In other words, the SP offloaded simple message handling tasks from the main processor. Thus, DP would not be disrupted by short messages. The memory controller handled requests for remote memory load or store as well as management of node memory. The network interface unit received or transmitted messages from or to the network, respectively, as shown in the diagram C. It should be noted that SP was built as an on-chip SFU of the DP. Research experiments. The STAR-T prototype was used to test the effectiveness of the unified architecture in supporting multi-threading operations. The development of STAR-T was influenced by other multi-threaded architectures, including Terra, Alewife, and JMachine. The I-structure semantics was also implemented in STAR-T. Full or empty bits were used on producer-consumer variables. STAR-T treated messages as virtual continuations. Thus, busy waiting was eliminated. Other optimizations in STAR-T include speculative avoidance of the extra loads and stores through multithreading and coherent caching. Multithreading, a perspective. The Dash KSR-1 and Alewife leveraged existing processor technology. The advantages of these directory-based caching systems include compatibility with existing hardware and software, but they offer a less aggressive pursuit for parallelism and depend heavily on compilers to obtain locality. The synchronizing loads are still problematic in these distributed caching solutions. In von Neumann multithreading approaches, the HEP or Terra replicated the conventional instruction stream. Synchronizing loads problems were solved by a hardware trap and software. Hybrid architectures such as Empire replicated conventional instruction streams, but they did not preserve registers across threads. The synchronizing loads were entirely supported in hardware. JMachine supported three instruction streams. It grew out of message passing machines but added support for global addressing. Remote synchronizing loads were supported by software convention. In the data flow approaches, the system level view has stayed constant from the tagged token dataflow architecture to the STAR-T. The various designs differ in internal node architecture with trends toward the removal of intra-node synchronization using longer threads, high-speed registers, and compatibility with existing machine codes. The STAR-T designers claimed that the unification of data flow and von Neumann idea would support a scalable shared memory programming model using existing SIMD or SPMD codes. Thank you.